Alright, so today we're doing a guide for solo flawless Vespers host. I know this might be super late for Vespers, but I wanted to start doing more guides on the channel just because I do think that they are fun to do, and there are plenty of guides out there already from many different creators, but you know, everyone has their different way of doing things, and it might be different for you. You might like doing things a certain way. You know, it's good to sometimes look at multiple guides. Sometimes people miss things and so on. So mostly I'm just going to do some commentary over this gameplay. And another reason I wanted to make this guide is when I was doing Solo Flawless Vesper, it was a while after the meta that people were using when it first came out was different. It was a different season, so the meta had changed a little bit, and not only that, the boss Ranieks was changed very largely, and yeah, it's a lot harder to do now in terms of soloing it, at least. But yeah, for this opening part, for the most part, just scan the doors and then head on through, and you don't need to rush this part here. You can see I'm going to try to get amplified so I can run through these mines without getting killed, which if you can do that, that's fine. I think for that part you don't necessarily need amplified, but it just helps you. I mean, you can go fast, and if you do get hit, you have a little bit of resist. Now here comes the tricky part, is falling. You just want to shoot these, don't risk it. If you can fall through it, you can certainly try, but it's not worth the risk. You can see right there, I almost fall involuntarily, but I just kind of go with it and weave my way through. Once you hit that bottom, the mines do despawn, so even if you activate them, as long as you're not close, it won't really matter. And then you're going to see me switch here to Wormy, or Parasite, that's the actual name, but I call it Wormy. It takes care of the Briggs very quickly, as you'll see shortly. Of course, you gotta kill ads to get the best possible burst from Parasite, but you can see there, even at ×5, just one Parasite shot, and then I use my Thunder Crash to finish that Brig off. Now, I usually go in this order that you're gonna see in this gameplay. You don't have to go in a specific order for the rooms, but I do enjoy going through the, I think it's the heart or the brain first up here. Yeah, it's the brain. You grab the scanner from the Vandal, and then you just run on through to the brain. Now, the reason I do this one first is that the platforming is probably the worst of the three rooms or areas, and you want to get that over with before anything else, because if you mess up, you're early in the run, you can come back and just start again. But if you are doing this last, you've got the two rooms already, it's kind of a waste of time, because if you do fail a jump here or a slow shank, which there are dusk field shanks throughout this area, once you get the nuke, then again you have to restart the whole dungeon. So you want to play it safe. Get that scanner in right away. You see me Thunder Crash here because I was getting my super back really fast with this build. Kuros, the little buff they gave it, you get extra super energy on melee kills, so you throw that on with Consecration. It's very strong. You do have to be careful while you're killing ads here that you don't shoot the panels by accident. So once you get that operator, you got to be very conscious of what you're shooting. So I dunk that operator in there, and then I'm just taking a mental note in my head once I pick up this scanner of which panels I need. If you get confused and you maybe forget, because I have a short-term memory issue sometimes, you can always pick the scanner back up and double, triple check that you got the right panels, because it's not worth messing up. If you shoot the wrong panel, you're gonna die. Again, you're gonna have to restart. So I didn't really do a numbered thing here. You could find a diagram that shows the panels in a numbered form or something along those lines, so you can type out the numbers in your head. But for me, I had my own system in my head that ended up working out. But again, always always do not fear picking up the scanner again if you need to, because it's well worth it. And you can see here I pretty quickly shoot all the panels. The nuke is spawned. You don't have to pick it up right away, but this is a fast way to do it. You just keep the operator on, you dunk it on your way out, and you do have a bunch of ads to deal with here. I try to get my amplified off my knockout punch, which I do get. Avoid this first Duskfield shank, and then I'm off to the races. You have this first one here, you can drop the nuke there and deal with him. Then you have this little cubby up here that you can use on your right, or you can just punch him in the face like I did right there. And then you have this last little shank here, which you can just go right into and punch. And really, I was embracing the Titan mindset throughout this entire attempt, and it worked out in the end. Of course, punching things is generally what you want to do on a Titan, and that was a big melee whiff right there. And one Wormy is going to take out the Brig. I really didn't need the Thunder Crash there. I probably could have held on to that. But again, I'm getting it back pretty fast throughout this entire dungeon. So, you know, if you see a need to use your Thunder Crash, if you need to use it to stay alive, if you're on Titan, then definitely do that. Warlocks, if you're wondering what you should run for this, Getaway Artist would be a great thing to run with a Song of Flame or Nova Bomb or Needle Storm to take care of the Brig. There are a lot of options there. Hunters, I still think Hunters are definitely just not built for solo flawlessing in this dungeon in particular. Maybe there's a solid build out there now, but definitely Titan or Warlock will provide the best results, the easiest survivability, good damage. And you can see here I'm just building my super back. I got it back ridiculously fast, getting ammo, getting kills for parasite stacks, and then we're gonna head over to the lung room, I think it is. I don't know which room it is, but you can just play back and look at the room I'm going into if you want. This is the only other area where you can fall off. It's very unlikely, and this one's definitely a lot easier than the first room, but again, just same logic, trying to get the platforming out of the way so that if you do fall somehow, some way, you can restart very early. And, you know, trust me, something can happen. You know, a dreg can be jumping across a platform and knock you off, or maybe you get hit with, again, that slow field from the shank and you're not inside the radius. I don't think the hitbox is larger than its visual hitbox, but I could be wrong. And again, you can just farm these ads to get your super back. That way you have it if you need it, which you probably will for the Brig. But like I said, Parasite will one-shot the Brig just about, so you don't really have to worry about that. But it's always nice to build up your super in case you need it. And you can see I also build up my Transcendence bar all the way, so I have that if I need it as well. So you can see I scan all the panels. Yet again, mental note in my head. I do hate how far away the bridges, or whatever you want to call them, are from each other in this area. Just a little curveball they throw at you that makes it a little bit longer to do, but it's honestly not that big of a deal. Spawn the nuke, and it's going to be right behind me. The shanks are annoying, they do continually spawn, but they're pretty easy to deal with, and again, they really help you get your super and stuff back. Now with this area, it is a ton easier to deal with these slow shanks. You can kind of put down the nuke and shoot that first Vandal mini boss, then you can jump here. You see, that's a little risky, but it's something I did anyways. You can kind of walk across that second part there without jumping. Then you have to jump here, and I tried to run past that guy. Sometimes you can, most of the time, ignore this second dude here. He won't walk out of that room, so as long as you stay out of the LOS of that guy, it won't really matter. Again, I just Thunder Crash and Parasite that guy to get rid of him. And I don't know why I really did that consecration there, but I did it. And we're going to pop this second nuke in there, and we're 2/3 of the way done with this encounter. Again, play this encounter as long as you need to. There's no need to rush it. You're not being timed. The only time when you are being timed is when you have the nuke. So that is when you need your super, you need max parasite stacks or whatever you're using to knock out the brig, and so forth. Fast forward a bit because, I mean, this room is generally the same as the other two. You just don't have to platform, which is so nice, I have to say. And, you know, platforming isn't too big of a problem in the first two. But like I said, once you get to this part, you don't have to worry about potentially falling off. You can go a little bit faster here if you need to. But again, I'm just going to take my time. I'm going to kill stuff. I'm going to get my Transcendence filled up all the way. I already have my super. And Indebted Kindness, and really all of the rocket sidearms are so good, but this especially it just melts the mini boss Vandals, as well as clearing out the Shanks. You get that Volt Shot proc. It's just so juicy. So yeah, we're scanning the panels here. You can see it's not either of those. It's the two in the center. And the system I have for this room is the, you know, far side middle, close side middle, doors, and then corners. Again, very unorthodox. I know a lot of people like to use numbers, but you can see that it's both corners for this run, and then both of the center panels, and that'll get the nuke spawned. You can see since I'm close by to where the nuke spawns, I'm going to grab that first, and then on my way dunk the operator. Now, you can dunk while you have the nuke in your hands. It will drop the nuke, though, I guess. Maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong on that. But, yeah, you want to save a consecration or something to deal with those big dudes. You handle them pretty quickly with that. And then we're on our way out to take out the final big bad brig. And a little glacial grenade action. You see Wormy is going to do a ton less damage to this guy here, and yeah, it's gonna take a little bit longer, but we pop our Transcendence, get a little bit more out of the Wormy, and then the Thunder Crash finishes him off. And then priority is to get that nuke to the terminal ASAP. Once you dunk, everything will despawn and you have completed encounter number 1. So just to reiterate, take your time. And Parasite is just great for the brigs, it's great for the mini bosses. And we're going to switch here. I think I'm going to switch to a sword here. Maybe not yet. But yeah, Kuros, really good. Indebted, fantastic. I was using Fatebringer a ton throughout that encounter. There's Firefly and Kinetic Tremors, I believe. You could use Midnight Coup, whatever you see fit. And then I'm going to switch to Kvastov and a sword for this traversal part. And this is something else that I really do enjoy about Vespers, is the traversal isn't just jump. It is, you have to kind of run around the boss that you will face in the second encounter, and it's just such a cool idea to have a traversal be more than just going from one place to another. You actually have to engage with the environment, and of course you get this big ass tunnel with a bunch of Vandals hidden away, and those are always fun to kill. The main reason I have Kvastov on here is it's just great at clearing ads. I mean, and I need an exotic to have on. And a great piece of advice for this part is you want to have your power reserves built up as much as you can, which means you're closing every door that you don't need open. See, I'm going to come over here and deal with the captain. Fast forward a bit. So here we are in this first room. Actually, let me go back real quick. So what I did, yeah, is I went in from this side, which is, you know, not what you always do. I'm going to close the door so they can't shoot me. Then take my time in here and kill this captain. You don't need to kill him right away. You can kind of dodge him if you want to. But then I'm going to go out this side door, which is closer to where you come in, because the boss should move over, and this will make it a ton easier. You won't be in his LOS. You will not get, I forget what it's called. He can't hurt you, basically, and do the LOS attack that also kills you right away. You see him closing as many doors as possible. The more doors you close, the more power reserves you will have. You see I have 2 built up right now, which means that I can open 2 doors at any time. I'm going to dunk the nuke here and do the next captain. If you need to, feel free to pause, go back, and look at this specific route. I'm just going to keep chugging the video along so you can get a feel for the flow of the entire little traversal encounter. It's integration, that's what it's called. I couldn't remember, but yeah, you got to stay out of his LOS in order to avoid getting hit there. Going to consecrate that captain and move forward to the next part here. And you see Amplified just comes in so nicely here. If you, whether you're using Arc, which Arc Titan of course is really good now, and there might be some really broken Bolt Charge build that you can use for this now. But what I was using was as good as I could do at the time. But yeah, Amplified again, just so good. Arc in general, just fantastic. Trying to close every door that I can. And yeah, you can see Doobie said there, yeah, once you run the route, you can go pretty fast. And once you know the route, you know which doors to close, and you know where to go, getting your Amplified. And you can see here, instead of having to open one door, close it, and then open it again, I can just open both of these doors and run right through. And I don't need any more reserves at this point because I'm at the final door. But actually, I messed up here. And I kind of saw that coming, but I can get back, even though I almost died there. That was actually quite bad. So you do have time here. The nuke is gonna chill there, and I'm gonna actually thunder crash past the boss, and that's gonna get me the encounter. So just don't do that. You can open those 2 doors, but you have to close that last one. And there you go, you're done. This is a little bit of a dangerous part here too, because the boss can suck you off a little bit if you're close, and not in the good way. So you want to make sure you get past him as quickly as possible. And for the most part, after that, you're home free. You do have a little bit more of a traversal to go, but the boss is definitely not going to hurt you from here anymore. Well, at least until you get into the encounter. So we're going to skip up to the encounter and get into that, because boy oh boy, there's a lot to unpack in this encounter. So I had a hot swap for this encounter, and again, like I said, there's probably a Storm's Keep build, maybe with Anarchy, that is really solid for this encounter now, but when I was doing it, this is what I ended up using. So you can see the hot swap here, and I'll pause. I'm going to start, actually I'm going to stay on Synthos this whole time, basically. Tinasha's is really good for this because it will one-shot the Explodey Shanks. And then at the time I had Repulsor Brace and One for All, or no, Repulsor Destabilizing on this Reckless Oracle. And it gives you that nice overshield. It's going to clear the ads pretty fast. And then Anarchy to do damage while I'm in my Glacial Quake. So, and if you're asking why am I not using the class item version of Synthos, it only works against ads. It does not work against bosses for Synthos, so you definitely want to have Synthos on here for this boss if you're using this build. And actually, let me go back really quickly. We can look at what the build is if you're curious. So it is Glacial Quake. We're going to have that Towering Barricade, which can come in handy, as I'll showcase in a little bit. Of course, still running Consecration and Knockout, so you're going to have the Strand melee on. Glacial Grenade is nice for basically having a second barricade and doing a little bit of extra damage. And all of these aspects here, for the most part, are tuned to survival. This is going to give us some Frost Armor. We're going to get extra resistance, of course, Facet of Courage. It's going to be really nice for Transcendence, getting Radiant on our melees, and just, a little bit more Transcendence energy from this one as well. So I actually didn't have a hot swap for this encounter. I do have a hot swap, though, for the final boss. But for this, we're just going to run Anarchy and Tinasha's, and it does pretty well. If someone has a Storm's Keep build out there that just melts Ranieks now, feel free to put that in the description or whatever. I haven't really played this dungeon a ton since I did this solo flawless attempt, so I don't know how bad it is, and I think I'm gonna get this to a 4 or a 5 phase with this build. But let's get into the running part for Ranieks here. So you can see I'm just killing ads. There are a ton of ads here, and again, I must urge you, you're not timed here. Please take your time. You do not need to rush. I sometimes did this and I paid for it. Take your time. The only time, again, you are gonna have to worry about anything is when you are in a damage phase, and even then, don't get greedy. If you can't do damage because it's not safe, don't worry about it. And you know, if you're doing the panels and you forget the numbers, again, also don't worry about it. And I'm just taking my time here before the big dude spawns. You don't know how this encounter works. You gotta get the big dude to spawn, and once you kill him, that will teleport you up top, where you will get bombarded with exploding shanks. You want to make sure everything's reloaded before you're over here, and as soon as you're in here, do not stop shooting exploding shanks. There should be, I think, 4 or 5, but even if you think you've got all of them, you can either jump up in the air or, you know, just keep listening for that little sound that the exploding shanks will give off. And you can see Repulsor helps a little bit here. It's just giving me some extra shields. You don't necessarily need it, but I thought it was a nice little extra barrier to help me out a little bit. It's not crazy good, but again, destabilizing was so nice. This was just after they buffed it, so you can see it was very nice. And you see why I have the tower barricade on. You can just pop the clone in front of it and be safely behind the barricade and shoot the clone before you are in any danger. And then once I get the numbers, I'm going to go in this little room. I'm going to type it. You see I'm on console and it takes a long time, but you are completely safe in this room. So, you know, if you have an emergency, just go hide in that room or whatever and take as long as you need. If you don't have the luxury of typing it, write it down real quick, whatever works. But I feel like most people can either type it on their keyboard, or even if you're on console, it's not too hard. You definitely want to do that if you can. Again, if you forget or you don't type at all, you can always go back up and double check. It will always be the same until you go to damage. Once you go to damage, it will change the sequence, but until then, you're good. So again, just killing ads here, trying to keep it as clear as possible. I do think that spawning the big eye is tied to the marauders that you kill, the yellow barred vandals, and once you kill enough of those, the machine priest will come up, and you see I just kind of pop a couple anarchy on him. Feel free to use that if you do end up copying this build as much as you need, because anarchy has pretty decent reserves. And again, once we come in here, we're going to just target all of the exploding shanks to the best of our ability. The really nice thing about Tenacious is that if you don't hit the exploding shanks, say you hit a regular one, it's going to slow down the exploding shank with Chill Clip. So that will give you a little bit more time to find those shanks and target them. Or let's say you shoot one that's far away and you slow it down. That gives you time to deal with one that's in front of you without having to deal with both at the same time, which is usually how you end up dead in this encounter, is you get swarmed by those exploding shanks before you have a chance to shoot them down. And where I'm standing, which is basically where you're teleported in, is the best place to shoot all of them as quickly as possible. You can see there it's probably taking like a water break, and we're going to kill the shank here from the safety of cover, pop our barricade again right in front of the boss, and I think, yeah, that was enough. You can be much further back with that clone than you think you can, and get that, I don't know what the debuff is called. You stun him basically, and turn him into little bro, and then go into this room again, type the numbers that you saw on the shanks, or yeah, shanks, the servitors, whichever one it was glowing red. And you can see my sequence here is going to be 2, 3, 6, 4. And I'm just going to clear some ads here before I go and pick up the operator. And it might take you a while. When I was doing these runs with my fire team, I didn't usually shoot these panels. So again, you're not rushed here. You can dunk the operator back in the fridge if you run out of time. And again, the numbers will stay the same. So don't rush here. You can see I shoot 3 and 4. And once you get a feel for where these numbers are, it definitely gets a lot easier. Once you shoot the last panel, then the ads will despawn. And of course, damage will begin. So I always kind of made sure I was ready to run over to the fridge, dunk this. There's a lot of stuff you gotta do here as a solo player. You gotta dunk the operator back, you gotta get suppressor, and usually he does his bomb attack before you can get to damage. So if you need to wait that out, wait that out. You see I do. You might miss a little bit of time. I'm gonna shoot a bunch of anarchy. I'm gonna throw my glacial grenade, and then I'm just gonna go to town, spamming the left click or right trigger if you're on console. Trying to do as much shatter damage as possible. You could get a little bit closer in there to get some more biotic enhancements going, but I think I was doing pretty well from where I was, and at least for this build at this time, that was the best damage I could get for one phase. And basically we're just going to repeat this a few more times until we get it. I'm going to fast forward here to the final phase. So yeah, I think this ended up being a 6 phase. You can see where I have his health bar. It is quite low. And again, I definitely would need to revisit this to tell you what the best option was, especially with new options that we have now with the new arc aspects. But again, this may certainly be still the best overall option. I may have just skipped doing a damage phase, or wasn't able to do much damage because I was playing it safe. But you can see here, because he's so low anyways, and I don't really need to do too much damage, that I just take it very slow, not trying to get myself into trouble, and you easily kill all of these little dudes once you break that final threshold, and you just gotta finish off these last ones here. Usually there'll be some stragglers. Not all the time, but you can see they're giving me a little bit of trouble. More trouble than they're worth, honestly. But yeah, that's it for this second encounter. Right, and so with that, we're on to the second traversal area. You're going to have the brig up here and a couple of vandals. You're basically just going to ignore everything that you can here. Make sure you avoid the lightning to the best of your ability. Take the short way, or rather the long way as opposed to the short way, which is just going straight across. You can kill these vandals just to be safe. You don't have to, but I thought it was best just in case. Again, avoiding the lightning strikes to the best of your ability. And you're gonna have a bunch of ads up here. You can, for the most part, run past, but you can see this one in particular wanted to catch hands with me, and that is what they got. And actually all of his friends caught hands as well. You don't have to kill any of the ads here, but, you know, this servitor said something mean about my mother, so I took that personally and dealt with him pretty quickly. You definitely want to take it slow with these mines up here. Again, I just trust my amplified to get me through before they go off, and it kind of worked off. I was just taking it painstakingly slow. At this point in the run, you're so close to the finish line, you don't want to risk it for anything trivial. I think I do hit one, and I'm like close to it, and I do get pretty weak, maybe. So, you know, maybe I'm not practicing what I preach, but yeah, you just want to take this as slow as possible. And no, actually, it looks like I make it through. Maybe I'm thinking of another run, but yeah, slow here, steady wins the race, and slow and steady wins, whatever. Anyways, luckily I have my super to deal with this mini boss here, and I'm just gonna try to melt him as quick as possible. He's also using the same super, but luckily I kill him before he's able to smash those crystals, because otherwise I might have been a dead man. And once you clear everything out, again, I'm refreshing my amplified here so I can kind of run through this next traversal ASAP. I'm going to throw my sword on just in case I miss a jump and I can try to rebound with that sword. And the reason I do it after that mini boss is you don't want to switch before, because you might not have any heavy to deal with said mini boss. And I'm taking the slowest and safest route possible. Again, you just don't want to risk anything. I know it looks like I just jumped onto nothing there, but there was scaffolding, thank God. That actually kind of scared me. But yeah, just taking it slow, avoiding the lightning. No reason to rush this part here, because you're gonna have plenty to deal with. And you see, I almost ran out of jump there, but I had the melee, I had the sword in case I needed that too. So that's why you throw that stuff on just in case, because that would have been a shitty place to lose the flawless at. And then you're at the boss. So the build I used for this was very much a scaredy cat build. I can go back to the loadout screen. Yeah, right here. So this was my running loadout, and I had a trace rifle for the panels. I had the heal clip sidearm to get heal clip in case I need that. Of course, I still have knockout on with this build for the extra healing, and we're using Queenbreaker because this was shortly after Queenbreaker became hard meta. And we're going to pair it with Mask of the Quiet One, and you'll see why shortly. But this is the running build. We're running Hoyle and Synthos on the class item. And then I'm just trying to get as much heavy to spawn as possible. Arc resist, because everything does arc here. And yeah, this build is mostly for survival. You're pretty much always going to have abilities up and so on. And there's a bunch of things to take into account for this final encounter, and I will reiterate the same thing. I know I sound like a broken record, and I apologize for saying it again, but take your time in every single aspect of this encounter. You're going to kill the suppressor first, and a neat little strategy is just to leave that clone in the middle. They will gravitate towards that, and you can just consecrate them together for the most part. That is what will happen every single time. You're going to keep the suppressor up because you're going to get 2 more here before you get the scanner buff to drop from the next Vandal. And then this is the order I dunked in. I always did suppressor on the right, and then scanner was on close left, and then operator on the far left. As you'll see shortly here, I'm going to figure out which of the panels that I need while it's clearing the ads. Those marauders with the scorch guns are going to be the most lethal thing here, so you want to make sure you clear those out. And I figure out which number panels I need, so I'm going to dunk operator in that, or excuse me, scanner in that close left, and then with operator I'm going to shoot all of these 2s. Make sure you're triple checking that it's 2 if you forget, and also making sure you're shooting 2 before you pull the trigger, because you can accidentally shoot the wrong one. Again, I did not shoot panels all the time, so I was somewhat lost occasionally, but for the most part I figured it out. Now, important thing to note, once you get this first blue room, and thank God it was blue room first for me in this run, because it definitely helped me out a ton. I didn't mean to rhyme there, it just happened, but yeah, it'll be blue room the first time every single time, so you're never not going to go into the room that you get first. So for me, I was lucky. If you get red room first, it can be a lot riskier, and you do need to take it so much slower, and you should not worry about dunking the buff. You should be willing to lose the buff to the room where you dunk the nuke if you need to. But here again, I was lucky. I got blue room, so I could dunk the buff before going into the room, thus saving me time, saving me the trouble of killing the Vandal again in the little side room here. Shoot all the panels in the room, and we're going to dunk operator and then run all the way over to the left. And the reason why it's important to dunk the buffs in the same spot is just so you remember where they are. It kind of becomes secondhand nature once you've done this enough. Of course, it might take a little bit of practice if it's your first run through, so don't get too discouraged. This is the most complex, convoluted, and involved solo flawless in the entire game. So if you can do this, you can do any solo flawless in the game, except of course, I mean, rating is a whole different thing, but yeah, you can definitely do other dungeons aside from this one. And you see I'm able to dunk all of my buffs, so I come into the room with just the nuke, and I'm clearing everything out. I think we're just gonna go back. I think it was very close actually. I had about 5 seconds before I got into the room. So you just need to pay attention to that countdown. If it does get too close, let's say you're at the fridge and you're about to dunk and you're like, oh, I have 4 seconds left, you're probably gonna die. So you got to pay attention to that pretty much all the time, and make sure that you're not overextending how much time you have, and that will kill you. And it's why it's super nice to have blue room. You have all this cover to work with, so when you're running to dunk these buffs, you're not getting into trouble. And you're seeing I'm picking up the operator before I go into the next room to try and save myself some time. That's something you don't necessarily need to do, and for these mines, for the most part, I either run through them or under them, over them, whatever works to get you through that. If you need to take your time and shoot, definitely try that, but it is difficult with the clones coming up behind you with their radiation, so I generally just ran through them, or, you know, between them, over them, and so on. And the nice part about this room is you can shoot every single panel from this particular spot. You don't have to move around the room, which is nice because this room lacks a ton of cover. It's just so wide open. The boss has a free lane to you. All of the clones are going to be shooting at you, and the knife guys, the suppressor clones, are also going to be coming at you. And it's just really hard to deal with all this stuff in this room. You got radiation and all that. So you see I find the bro, and I can lose the buff here because this is the final dunk. I don't have to worry about keeping the scanner because I'm going to have to get it up top again anyway. This is something I wish they didn't do. I wish the buffs just stayed in the showers or the fridges, so that you, as a solo player, that saves you a little bit of time. It is very repetitive and monotonous to have to do that every single time, but I get it. It's not supposed to be easy, and it certainly opens up the door for more errors. But if you're lucky like me and you get the blue room first, you don't really have to worry too much about getting the buff multiple times before you get back to damage phase and up top. And you're going to see my hot swap here. I'll pause for a second. So the hot swap, we're going to use Lost Signal. I switched it from One for All to auto-loading Vorpal. It just helps with the rotation, and this will get my Transcendence up a ton. It's also just going to be doing some extra damage while I'm shooting with Queen Breaker. We have this sidearm again, which aberrant action with Heal Clip, which is going to come in handy if I need to kill a clone real quick and get Heal Clip. And again, Mask of the Quiet One, because when we get kills on the clones, that will proc Devour, giving us a little extra health regen. And then Queen Breaker to try and do as much damage as possible. And Twilight Arsenal, which is going to add an extra debuff to the boss. And it just does a decent amount of damage. And of course, you need a Void Super for Mask of the Quiet One to work in the first place. There are some other high octane, high risk, high reward things you can do in this encounter. But this worked best for me because I couldn't pull those off. And we're going to pop our Transcendence. Not yet. I actually think I held on to it. Throw that grenade for some shatter damage, and then all those axes onto the boss to get that weakened. And we're going to pop up in this little corner here, which is a nice little spot. Put our barricade down to give us some cover. You're going to want to switch to the 3 burst mode, because that's going to do the most damage for you. And just track the boss, keeping Lost Signal on him. And you can see the damage is pretty nice. You gotta be able to hit crits. Sometimes the clones will grief you and just stand in front of the boss and laugh at you and say you suck. It's nice to get that Transcendence Grenade on the boss if you can for a little extra damage. You can see we're hitting about 52,000 a shot. I'm gonna hit one of those clones because it's about time to get the nuke to extend the damage phase, and you know, get that Devour going to keep me alive for as much as possible, because you're really just getting shot by everything in this encounter, and there's so much going on. So Devour is just really nice to have, and you can see I'm pretty close to having my super back. I don't know if I get 2 in this damage phase or not, but I am going to end up doing some aberrant action DPS towards the end because you do just run out of ammo. I'm going to get a kill there, and I'm actually going to get some ammo, and you got to be careful you don't get greedy there because the lightning will kill you really fast. And we're going to pop barricade and try to do as much as we can with Queenbreaker before the time runs out for this damage phase. Again, that glacial grenade to get a little extra shatter damage. And we're going to get our axes again. Just pop that immediately because you don't know how much time you've got. And you gotta, smoke them if you got them. And yeah, just keep going. And we're going to run out here. I get that last shot off. I'm not sure if that last beam hit or not, but pretty solid damage. Got to the E. Definitely not the best that you can do, but it's safe. You're going to stay alive. So that's pretty much what you're going to do each and every time. I'm going to probably saw there I hot swap back to Hoyle, just so again you can get your abilities back pretty quickly. And we're going to go to the end because I do have a embarrassing moment that I'm going to show you can happen to you, just as a do as I say, not as I do sort of moment, if you will. Alright, so we're scrounging for ammo because I'm hoping that this is the last damage phase that I need to do. Mask of the Quiet One is on with our Lost Signal equipped as well. We're going to pop that grenade on, do the Twilight Arsenal attack, which honestly that super is just so fun. I've been playing a ton of Arc Titan recently. I haven't been really using it, but it's so strong. And don't miss your shots, kids. I've been missing a ton of shots throughout this dungeon, but the more you hit, the quicker this is going to go. And the boss is on the far side, which does make things a little bit more difficult, but again, that's why we're using Queenbreaker here, because it's solid no matter where the boss is at. And you can see we're getting close, and he's heading back to middle. And again, the timing for this is once he's in middle, you really want to look for that nuke clone if you can. Kind of be shining white, like a white gleam to the clone, and that's usually how you can tell that it is the one with the nuke. And yeah, so now we're gonna head for that nuke, and you can see I'm very low already here. I'm gonna get hit with the lightning, and I slide into that door, which you got to be careful of this here, is that little frame right here can catch you. And I think I had slid over it before, but I didn't that time, and it nearly ended my flawless when I was right there with the health bar. And again, it was almost very, very demoralizing, but I was able to survive that. This guy was really pissing me off. I had to take it really slow here, so this is a good example of if you need to take it slow, because I most certainly just didn't have the best rotation. I'm going to kill that guy for Devour. I only have one Queenbreaker shot, so I'm really just trying to play it safe here at this point. I'm not trying to fuck around and find out, and I'm able to somehow get out of here, and that is sometimes what you have to do. So I was close, and of course this dude followed me down because I guess he doesn't like me. And, I got heavy from him, which is unfortunate because it would have been nice to get that while I was up there. So again, very close in that regard. But if you need to do another running phase, don't hesitate to do it. It's not worth losing the flawless run this far in. Alright, if you enjoyed the video, make sure you leave a like. If it was helpful at all, please consider subscribing. And if you want to watch the clear again, if you just want to watch it in general, or you need to go back and look at something, you can just scroll back in this video, but the full clear will be in this VOD in the description. Anyways, peace out, guys.